Welcome, my name is Abel Sanchez. This video is an introduction to a set of videos on new opportunities on social networks backed by blockchains. If you have never heard the term before, we'll start off with a very high-level introduction to guide you to what the principles of the blockchain are. Consider the case in where Alice in the US wants to transfer money to Bob in India. The traditional way in which this has been done is to use a third party. Alice hands her money to the third party, which then transfers that to Bob in India. It takes about 4 days, and there's a fee that is paid. Now, the goals of the blockchain are to eliminate the third party, to eliminate the delay, to make it real-time or near real-time, and to eliminate this fee. Now, it does that introducing 4 innovations. One of them is an open ledger. The second one is a chain of transactions that it's auditable. The third one is a distributed open ledger where everyone in the network has a copy of all the transactions. And the third one is a concept called mining, where the network is invited to participate in exchange with a computationally difficult puzzle, keeps everyone honest in participating and adding new transactions. Now, this has been applied, as you might have seen on the press, to a multitude of industries, but the focus of today is that of social media. And let's start off by reviewing some of the criticisms that are often made of social networks such as Facebook. The first one is that the system is a walled garden. That is, the data is contained within this system, it is protected, it is exploited by Facebook, and we have no say. That is to say, we are the product upon which Facebook monetizes and controls our information. We certainly don't profit from the profits that Facebook takes. We certainly have to trust Facebook when it comes to how it handles our data. And we have certainly seen with Yahoo and other cases such as LinkedIn where there have been compromises of data, and we've had to suffer the public disclosure when it comes to compromising our credentials. And so there's a number of criticisms that can be made of Facebook and other networks like it, Google Circles or others that you might think of. However, given the principles of the blockchain, there is a mechanism through which we could have a very different deal with the social network. We could participate directly and not have a third party that we have to trust with our information, and we could profit from the impact or the success of what we're posting. And so Steemit is the first network and still the most successful social network that you will find on top of the blockchain. And as you can see here, for example, this first post made $1,300. The next one made $920. And this is a very different mechanism that is at play here. First, the content producers are gaining coins or are gaining money based on how good their content is. Not only that, there is a network of reviewers and people who are voting on the content, and they're voting with money, which means that they're being a lot more careful about what they're voting on, which means as well that those that are producing content are being more careful about what they post. And in general, it has led to a very stable, very profitable network that is very different than everything else that we have seen. Now, it has not just a very successful social network, it also has a very successful financial marketplace. Now, it has been, as all the other currencies, subject to the wild swings that valuations can have, but the rewards are very different than most everything else that you see. First, the distribution of the money you make goes 50% to you and 50% to the voters that vote on your content. Now, of the money that you received as an author, 50% is giving to you in Steam Power and 50% in Steam dollars. Now, Steam Power is locked into the system and is dispersed over 2 years, as you can see here. Now, the goal of that is to provide stability in the market and to ensure that you're participating not simply just to speculate or to make money, but that you believe in the model that Steam is presenting. Now, they have been, as I mentioned, very successful. They're one of the top 20 coins in the market. If you're not familiar with this, you might have heard of Bitcoin and you might have heard of Ethereum. There's actually 1,000 such currencies that are traded openly, and you can see here that this is one of the top 20, and the market capitalization is 335 million. Obviously a very small network if you compare it to something like Facebook, but very successful in its own right, considering that it's a new model, it is based on the blockchain, and it is really disrupting the principles that have existed in social networks. Now, they're not the only one. As you can see here, you see a newer one that's called Scenario. The capitalization is 20 million, so much smaller, but you can see there that they're making a similar proposition. They are comparing themselves, or comparing and contrasting themselves against the siloed information that exists in most social networks today, and talking about a liberated attention economy. The newest one that has joined this movement is called AKASHA. This is gaining a lot of attention because one of the Ethereums, the second most successful platform in blockchain, is part of the founding team, and they have some very interesting features as well as a very polished client that's being used. Now, before I started recording, I went ahead and joined the Steemit network. I thought I create a lot of content, why not join it? If you do join it, it takes a week or two for the community to validate that you are a real person and that they do approve you to join the network. But as you can see there, I have joined. I have made my first post, which was last night, and I have reached the first level of my first contribution. So time will tell whether this community values the type of content that I produce, but I thought it was a pretty interesting model. And not only that, I could actually make some money while doing it as well. The other one that I mentioned was AKASHA. And you can see here that this has a dedicated client. It is similar to Ethereum and others where you are forced to use your client and participate on a peer-to-peer network directly. And you can see here that I have made my first posting as well. For the most part, it was pretty seamless. The only comment that I would make is that on Steemit you do have to wait, but I think that adds value as well when it comes to verifying that those that are participating are real people and that you are going to have a community that is curating even those that are trying to join it. So as we move off of pure social networks, there are several other models that are leveraging the community and that are quite interesting. One of the ones that is gaining the most traction is that of prediction markets. And the proposition here is that there are many groups or individuals that can accurately predict events in life very well, and that we should be able to reward them. The mechanisms of the marketplace have been such that it's either hard to trust those that are sourcing the experts, or the experts themselves may have a question mark. And this provides, again, mechanisms in where you can get efficiencies and you can identify those individuals or groups that are very good at prediction models. And for them, there is an incentive if they can accurately predict, because they can profit. So Gnosis is one of them, market cap at 245 million. I keep on mentioning the capitalization simply to note that these are very serious companies and not just two people trying to do something innovative, but there's a very serious business model and profit being made here. There's another one. They are not the only ones. Agur has a market capitalization of 210 million, and they're making a very similar proposition. Now, as you might imagine, there's also other networks such that are very similar to networks that we already know, such as LinkedIn, and they are simply trying to provide a more or a stronger credential or qualification by the network and providing benefits to those that participate. So similar to the social network that I mentioned before, here you can benefit from the reputation and from those that you recognize as having qualifications, and provide a network that identifies skills and qualifications in a better way that currently exists. There's other community type efforts that have social components such as Open Bazaar. You can think of it as an equivalent to eBay, and there's even an equivalent to Twitter. Now the last one I'll mention in this batch here is one that's called First Blood. This one is quite interesting in the sense that it creates a social network around gaming. You might have certainly heard of e-athletes, and these are people who are making more money than professional athletes by simply playing video games. This is one of the fastest rising sports that exist, but it is difficult for the average person to gain this level of talent and participate. You would have to quit your job and so on. Now, in this network here, you can participate and challenge pretty much anyone, and you can start your career as a professional gamer without having to quit your job. You could do it in the evenings, and you can certainly, if you were good enough, start to make some serious money. This is network that is growing rapidly and that is quite interesting. You can see here the capitalization is at 86 million, and this is certainly something that fits very well the attributes of a blockchain, and that it's certainly having success in the marketplace. Now I'll close by mentioning some of the building blocks that I'll point references to, or that you might want to review. As you can see here, there's already a worldwide computer that simply provides computing services much as in AWS. You can think of that as a resource to enable a lot of these other models, or simply as something that you could leverage yourself. There's something equivalent when it comes to storage, and you can see there the capitalizations are quite high. That's not the only one. There's a new one that's gaining a lot of traction, which is called Storage, and it had an ICO recently, and you can see there the capitalization at 37 million already. And there's even more fundamental components that might become the backbone of these services. One of them is called IPFS, and this is the interplanetary file system. This could be equivalent to GFS and Hadoop that became the backbone of a new generation of computation in the past decade. This has that type of fundamentals and that sort of contribution. Similarly, there's a company called Blockstack that is taking that even further and adding a new abstraction or a new naming system, domain name system, to provide a full block stack that enables a whole independent internet, if you would, to emerge. And so these are certainly quite interesting, and it'll be up to the marketplace to decide whether they do become or do fulfill that potential. In closing, on the social front, as a participant or somebody looking to create a new innovative product or to launch a new startups, there are tremendous opportunities. We're in the early days. There's a lot of experiments being made, a lot of platforms being presented. And so if this is a space that calls out to you, certainly jump in with both feet. It is a fascinating environment. I simply wanted to mention as well that the community is validating the value of these ideas, both on the privacy and flexibility and just simply new ideas that are coming into the space. You can see here one about a new browser. Browsers are another mechanism by which we're tracked and a lot of our data is captured. The former Mozilla CEO, the creator of JavaScript, is proposing a new browser to the market, and you can see there the type of market response that he got. In general, you can think of this environment or this structural components as new building blocks, and as the first generation led to MySpace, Facebook, Google Circles, and others, blockchain and related technologies are providing a new set of opportunities. So how will you use it? What will you build? That's always the most important and most fascinating part of this. So with that, I invite you to watch the series of videos that will accompany this video and have fun and enjoy.